Welcome to the Deep Dive Listener, brought to you by the OtisWho Network. Social media can be like a breeding ground for raw emotion, and, well, today that's exactly where we're diving, looking at modern relationships through the lens of TikTok comments. And listener, let me tell you, the ones you sent in sparked some serious debate in our production meeting.
It's fascinating how these TikToks and comments tap into bigger societal anxieties about marriage. It's like we're watching a cultural shift happen in real time.
So let's set the stage. This first TikTok we're looking at features a woman who straight up says she hates being married. She mentions mental health and financial fears as reasons for staying, but the overall vibe is, let's just say, bleak. Why do you think she's sharing these feelings so publicly?
It's tough to say for sure, but I think there's an element of seeking validation, putting her vulnerability out there, hoping to connect with others who get it. But this public airing of grievances also raises questions, about the impact on her husband and blurring the lines between seeking support and oversharing.
It's almost like she's trapped in this digital echo chamber, seeking solace in the anonymity of the internet.
Right.
But then we have this male commentator who jumps in with a completely different take. He uses humor, almost satire, to point out what he sees as hypocrisy in her complaints. He even imagines a male version of the video where the only fear divorce is having to do chores. What's your take on the satire? Is it dismissing valid concerns or provoking critical thinking?
It's definitely provocative and could be seen as insensitive. But satire can highlight double standards and make us examine our assumptions. In this case, he's bringing attention to the undervalued labor of stay-at-home partners, which is traditionally associated with women.
So using humor to expose a potential blind spot in the original poster's perspective.
Yeah.
Not necessarily condoning one side over the other, but adding another layer.
Exactly. And it's this interplay of perspectives that makes online discussions so interesting, holding a mirror up to society's norms and values.
Speaking of societal norms, the comments explode with responses from other married women echoing the original poster's feelings. This theme of disillusionment keeps popping up. Some even mention settling and question the whole soulmate thing. How do we make sense of this widespread dissatisfaction with what's supposed to be happily ever after?
It points to a shift in expectations. Traditional marriage, with its defined roles and emphasis on stability, may not align with today's values. The modern individual often prioritizes personal growth, self-discovery, pursuing passions.
Right.
And that can clash with traditional marriage, leading to feeling trapped or unfulfilled.
Like the fairy tale ending is bumping up against the realities of modern life.
Exactly. And that's where settling comes in. Social exchange theory suggests we're always evaluating our relationships based on what else is out there. We weigh the pros and cons against potential benefits of other options. When those alternatives seem better, it can lead to feeling like we settled for less than we deserve.
So it's not just about the relationship, but how it measures up against what we think we could have. This brings us to another hot topic in the comments. The influencer, Sheer7, known for encouraging women to seek high-value men for financial security. Some see this as contributing to the dissatisfaction in the original TikTok. What are your thoughts?
It highlights the complexities of financial dependence. While economic security can help a relationship, prioritizing it above all else can lead to an imbalance of power and unfulfilled emotional needs. You have to think about the consequences of prioritizing money over shared values, emotional intelligence, and intellectual compatibility.
So not just about finding a partner with financial stability, but someone who aligns with you on a deeper level. This whole conversation makes me wonder, what does emotional fulfillment even mean in a long-term relationship?
That's a big question, and I think it's something each person needs to define for themselves. But some core elements include feeling seen, heard, and understood by your partner, experiencing mutual respect and admiration, and sharing emotional intimacy and connection, feeling supported in your growth, and having your needs and desires valued within the relationship.
So more than shared finances or checking off societal expectations, it's a deeper level of connection and mutual support. This discussion is already so thought-provoking, and we've only just scratched the surface. Listener, we'll be back right after a short break to explore more of these fascinating and challenging ideas. We'll delve into other TikToks you sent in and unpack even more perspectives on modern relationships. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive, where we're dissecting these messy, complicated realities of modern relationships through social media.
And listener, this next TikTok you sent in throws a real curveball. We've been talking about financial dependence in these high-value men, but this comment flips the script completely. It's from a woman who says she divorced her husband 5 years ago and now they're better friends. But get this, he let her live rent-free in his house for 3 years after they split.
That's really interesting. It challenges the assumptions we make about divorce, suggesting that compassion and support can exist even after a romantic relationship ends.
Yeah, it's like they redefined moving on and prioritized mutual respect, even without romantic love. But it makes you think, would the reaction be the same if the roles were reversed? Would we praise a woman for supporting her ex-husband like that?
That's a good point. Societal expectations for men after divorce can be pretty rigid. This pressure to quickly become financially independent and start a separate life, while women are sometimes seen as more vulnerable and needing support. This example really challenges those gender roles and highlights the importance of flexibility in how we approach life after divorce.
It definitely adds another layer to the conversation. And speaking of complex, let's look at this next comment that really had me scratching my head. This woman says she loves her husband, but doesn't like him at all. Even goes as far as to say he's a great guy, but not my man. That's got to be tough.
That's a powerful statement. It speaks to this potential disconnect between love and compatibility. Can you have deep affection for someone, but recognize you're fundamentally mismatched at your core?
It's almost like she's grappling with this idea that love conquers all even when daily life feels far from ideal.
Yeah.
And then another comment jumps in saying, most people just settle, and only a lucky few find their soulmate. What are your thoughts on this soulmate idea? Helpful ideal or setting people up for disappointment?
The soulmate concept is a tricky one. It's alluring, but can be really damaging. Sets up this unrealistic expectation of one perfect person, which can make you feel inadequate and constantly searching for something that might not even exist. It also ignores the fact that even the most compatible partners will have challenges and need to put in effort, compromise, and grow together.
So it's not about this mythical perfect match, but choosing to build a life with someone who shares your values and is willing to put in the work. And that leads us to a comment that takes a darker turn. This woman mentions praying for God to take her, seeming to want death as an escape from her unhappy marriage. It's a reminder of how heavy these relationship struggles can weigh on people.
It's a stark reminder of the despair some people feel in their marriages. It really underscores the importance of seeking support through therapy, counseling, or talking to trusted friends and family. It also highlights the need for more awareness of mental health within relationships.
Absolutely. And just when you think we've hit peak bleakness, we get this TikTok that throws a wrench in the works. It features a woman who loves men who are laser focused on their careers and excelling in their field. She even says men unhappy with their careers are the most evil men you will ever meet. Where do we even begin with that?
That perspective is really troubling. It reduces people to their job title and reinforces harmful stereotypes. Like a man's worth is tied solely to his career success. It ignores emotional intelligence, empathy, compassion, all those things that make for a fulfilling life and healthy relationships.
It's taking the high-value man idea to an extreme, equating financial success with being a good person. It's dangerous and ignores how complex people are.
Exactly. Remember, we're all multifaceted people with different needs, desires, and goals. Reducing someone to just one aspect of their life, whether it's career, money, or anything else, is dehumanizing.
This has been a roller coaster of perspectives, listener. We've gone from heartwarming post-divorce generosity to soul-crushing despair to some seriously toxic judgments. It's enough to make your head spin.
But that's online discussions for you. They reflect the diverse and sometimes conflicting views we have in society. It can be overwhelming, but it's important to engage with these different ideas critically and thoughtfully.
And maybe by having these conversations, even the tough ones, we can start breaking down harmful stereotypes and build a more nuanced and understanding view of relationships in the 21st century.
Absolutely. And remember, listener, your relationship journey is unique. What works for one couple might not work for another, and that's totally okay.
Well said. We're all navigating this together, and open communication, mutual respect, and a willingness to grow both individually and as partners are crucial. It's been quite a ride exploring these different perspectives on modern relationships on social media. We've seen it all: heartwarming generosity, soul-crushing despair, and some pretty toxic judgments. It makes you wonder if happily ever after even exists anymore.
And that's exactly why these conversations matter. They make us confront the complexities of modern relationships and challenge these idealized narratives we see everywhere. It's not about finding simple answers or blaming anyone. It's about acknowledging the diverse experiences and challenges real couples face.
One thing I've been thinking about is the role of communication. We've seen how a lack of communication can lead to resentment, misunderstandings, and feeling invisible in a relationship.
Hmm.
Do you think social media makes these communication challenges worse? Or is it giving couples a new way to connect and understand each other?
Social media is a tricky one when it comes to relationships. It's a double-edged sword. On one hand, it can set unrealistic expectations and fuel comparisons that lead to dissatisfaction. We see these curated highlight reels that make our own relationships feel less than.
Right.
But it can also be a platform for vulnerability and connection. We can find communities of people going through the same things, which can be really validating.
So it's like an amplifier, or for better or worse, depending on how we use it.
Exactly.
And that brings us back to self-awareness and critical thinking.
Yeah.
Being mindful of how social media influences us and making a conscious effort to communicate well, both online and offline.
Absolutely. It's not just about communication within the relationship, but also how we present our relationship to the world. The TikToks we've talked about show how sharing online can lead to both vulnerability and judgment. It's important to think about the consequences and weigh the need for validation against protecting everyone's privacy and emotional well-being.
Finding that balance between being real and being discreet, I guess.
Yeah.
One of the biggest takeaways for me is that relationships are always evolving. There's no finish line, no moment where everything magically clicks. It's an ongoing process.
It is, you're right. It takes effort, commitment, and a willingness to adapt. The fairy tales end with happily ever after, but in reality, it's a journey, not a destination.
Embracing the messiness, the good and the bad that comes with sharing your life with someone, and realizing you're not alone in this. There are so many others out there going through the same things, looking for connection and support.
And a big thank you to the OtisWho Network for supporting these conversations. We've covered a lot today, but hopefully it's made you think and encouraged you to approach your own relationships with more awareness, compassion, and openness to the complexity of it all.
So keep those conversations going, listener, with your partner, your friends, your family, even in the comments section online. Let's challenge those old narratives and create a more honest and supportive space for talking about the ever-changing world of relationships. Until next time, keep diving deep. And remember, you're not alone on this journey.